Do I look like a dillweed?
No, you look like a gamer.
I'm gonna take them off though, but
You look like a damn gamer.
it sounds really good.
You ready?
Yeah. So welcome to Doobs and Goobs.
Episode 1.
Where we talk about anything interesting.
Anything we want to talk about.
And today we have a bottle of wine. If you want to show them the wine. Yes.
I don't know if you can. I don't even.
Let me
It's
see.
okay. It's okay if it's not sharp or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Woohoo! From HEB boys.
We're finishing it off. We had a little bit left from, I guess, last week.
Yeah.
But yeah, today we're gonna go in depth. Basically, we'll give you the background information of the Romanovs, and as you get, there's like about 2 or 3 layers deep of stuff. I mean, it's really interesting, but right now this is gonna be the first layer. So video 1's just the first layer, maybe a few teasers, but
Yeah, we're setting the stage for what's to come in upcoming videos.
yes. All right, so we're just gonna start it off with, she's gonna give you a little background knowledge.
Yes. So, in the 19th century, Alexander
I'm gonna skip it.
Nikolaevich Romanov II received the Empire of Russia. One of his greatest accomplishments was emancipating the peasants who had been locked to a piece of land for life. His goal was to modernize his family's empire, but interestingly enough, before 1881, there were 3 attempts to assassinate Tsar Nicholas. The people's will formed against Nicholas. One of the masterminds in the plot to assassinate Nicholas was Sophia Perovskaya, who was a descendant of Peter the Great. Anyway, she was hanged for her crimes, but later she became a hero to the Bolsheviks, and we'll go more on the Bolsheviks later. So when Nicholas II was 16, he met his future wife, Victoria Alex Helena Louise Beatrice Feodorovna, also known as Alex of Hesse, which she was a 12-year-old German princess. Her grandmother was Queen Victoria of England, and she apparently was the Queen's favorite grandchild. It was said that Nicholas wrote in a journal that one day he would marry Alex because he had always loved her. But their love story was more along the lines of Romeo and Juliet because their families were not fond of each other. Nicholas's father saw Germany's machinations against Russia, while Alex's family saw Russia as a backwater empire.
And machinations just stands for like
an evil plot,
yeah,
right?
Evil plot, yeah.
We had to look that one up earlier. However, Alex refused to even think about becoming Russian Orthodox, and that's what Nicholas was. However, once Alexander III, Nicholas's father, was on his deathbed, he gave Nicholas permission to marry Alex. In 1894, they got married, and Alex became Orthodox, and she was now Empress Alexandra Feodorovna. But the Russian people were uncertain about her because she was German. You want to go ahead?
Yeah, I'll give you a little break. Get you a drink. Nicholas was more conservative, and once he became emperor, he worked to reverse his father's liberal works. His dad, Alexander III, seemed to be a good emperor to the people because they were not involved in any major conflicts. He just built up the country and the economy, and Russia had hoped to be on the same playing field as the Western countries as far as influence went. However, Alexander became ill and he died, so Nicholas was very unprepared to rule Russia when the throne was passed down to him. Nicholas and Alexander got crowned in 1896, but his father had died in 1894, so even though he became ruler at the time, it was not official until 1896. In 1904, Tsar Nicholas and
Serena
Alexandra had 5 kids. The first 4 were girls, Despite growing up royal, the children slept on simple cots and did many of their own chores. Anastasia and her sister Maria were close and shared a room during their childhood. She and Maria were nicknamed the Little Pair. You can go ahead.
While the older sisters, Olga and Tatiana, were referred to as the Big Pair. However, they were constrained by rules and traditions, especially when it came to love. It had just worked out for Nicholas and Alexandra that they were both in love and royal. However, their oldest daughter, Grand Duchess Olga Nikolaevna Romanov, met a soldier named Dmitri while working at the hospital during World War I, and they fell in love. Aww. This would never work since he was not from royalty like she was, which really freaking sucked for her because she never had any interest in any princes or dukes. Once Dmitri was healed, he was sent back to war and they never saw each other again. Olga was heartbroken, and the last thing she heard about Dmitri was that in 1920, he might have been fighting the Red Army, which, spoiler alert, the Red Army are the same folks who would later execute the Romanovs.
Back to the other Romanov kids, Nicholas and Alex's youngest child was a boy named Alexei. He suffered from hemophilia, which means his blood did not clot properly. Nicholas knew that Alex was a carrier for the disease, which was one of the hesitations about marrying her. At the beginning of Alexei's life, he appeared to be healthy and normal. However, once he started showing symptoms, he was constantly screaming from pain, and eventually he was bedridden. He had to be carried from room to room so he would not get hurt. He didn't have a normal life, but he did have a dog named Radnost. It's kind of a cool name. Pretty rad. which when translated means joy in English. Oh, that's pretty cool. If you are an animal lover like us, this next part is terrible because Radnost is known to be the saddest dog in history. Alexei and Radnost had tons of pictures together. They went everywhere together and played a lot before Alexei got confined to his bed. Later on down the road, when the Bolsheviks would kill the Romanovs, they would also kill their pets too, but not Radnost because he had been outside exploring, which is good. Yeah. Radnost was living on the streets until a soldier recognized the dog and rescued him. So,
thank the Lord.
Yeah. Did he even know his? That was a question. Did he even know what happened to him?
Oh, but just wait, because Radnost was later given to the British royal family, where he had lived out the rest of his days at Windsor Castle. It was said that he was the saddest dog in history because he would spend a lot of his time staring out the window, waiting for his owner, Alexei, which makes me feel guilty anytime Amelia, Stella, and Scarlett at home.
Right. Okay, circling back to Alexei's hemophilia, this gave the Tsars a ton of anxiety because he was the sole heir to the Romanov dynasty. While they were highly religious, this is where the infamous Rasputin enters. Gregory Rasputin was by far one of the most powerful con artists of all time. He became an overnight success at the Romanovs, since it had seemed like he had magically healed Alexei at one point in time. Therefore, the Romanovs thought that Rasputin had a gift from God. But in reality, Rasputin had just gotten lucky because all he did was tell the doctors who was treating Alexei to back off. This little miracle only helped because the doctor stopped feeding Alexei aspirin, which makes hemophilia worse. Once Nicholas took command of the Russian army in World War I, Alex became the head of the household, and right beside her was Rasputin whispering in her ear. Rasputin set up the family to be killed because, okay, this is the mainstream view of Rasputin.
We had a long debate about Rasputin
earlier. Yeah, we'll get into this later.
It's a video to come.
I'm not saying, he definitely could be a con artist, 100%.
But there's two sides to every story.
Yes, and whether it was him or not, I don't know. We'll get into that later. So yeah, Rasputin set up the family to be killed because he used them to cause chaos in their homeland. The military had become so incompetent that the people lost faith in the military, or in the family ruling Russia. Even after Rasputin was murdered, he had influenced the family far beyond anything they could fix.
So Tsar Nicholas abdicated the throne, mostly because he thought it would save his son and his family. Nicholas tried to give the throne to his brother Michael so that the Romanov dynasty would still rule Russia, but Michael said, yeah, no thanks. Nicholas literally thought this was the best and safest choice, but ultimately this decision fueled the Bolsheviks and the Russian Revolution. King George V of England and Kaiser Wilhelm of Germany were both cousins of Nicholas. And then, remember earlier, Queen Victoria was Alex's grandmother. So here's how this little...
Wait, King George?
King George V.
Oh, yeah. Remember this, though, because
yeah.
somehow it seems like England is tied into damn near every country.
I feel like England has ruled almost every country, like...
Whether it's
Italy,
firsthand or
Spain,
through someone else, yeah.
America... Who knows what else? Russia. Well, they didn't try to rule Russia, but they had influence in Russia.
Yeah, and that's like, they don't ever rule over them, but they have definitely influence.
Mm-hmm. But here's how this little family interaction went down. So George V sets a plan to have the Romanovs brought to England. However, and Kaiser Wilhelm also confirmed a treaty with the Bolsheviks so that he could safeguard the Romanov family. However, England did not accept the Romanovs, and the German government thought that safeguarding the Romanovs would turn the tide of World War I. So the Romanovs were left completely abandoned by their powerful family ties, which we read earlier about the goals of World War I.
What?
Yeah.
Who's Wilhelm?
His cousin.
Of Germany.
Yes. He's got a cousin in Germany. Like, that has a position of power.
That's so weird.
Well, remember that one guy we were watching a while back, and like he was talking about like inbreds, like
they ask you how you are, you just have to...
Like the most powerful families like that have ruled like are very inbred, so
yeah, no.
I'm just saying it like it makes sense like how, but like royalty
no,
has to marry royalty.
So, I'm thinking like, wait, which one was Hitler? World War II?
Yeah.
I know, I'm just thinking it's weird. Because you have to, I don't know what a Kaiser is, like what ranking they are.
I thought that was his name. It was Kaiser.
It's like how King George, Kaiser Wilhelm of Germany.
Maybe we should look it up.
Yeah, can you look it up real quick?
Kaiser definition World War One.
Okay, yeah. With
World War One under the way, the Kaiser as Commander-in-Chief of German Armed Forces. So that's him. That's your cousin.
That's my cousin?
No, that's their cousin. Who was the worst general? Lloyd Fredenal was the worst.
Pound for pound, he was the worst. No, I'm just kidding.
Who was the most aggressive? Kaiser Wilhelm II.
And that's who we're talking about?
No, we're just talking about Kaiser Wilhelm. But they didn't say Kaiser Wilhelm II.
Oh, wait, let me read. Go up. So basically he did nothing.
Best sniper in World War II. Samo Heya.
So it's for the Red Army.
One eternity later.
The Red Army is the Bolsheviks, so when they invaded Finland.
Okay, so Kaiser is the
commander
of the army.
Of the army. You look like you have a thought.
I mean, yeah, I do, but like, I don't know. Like, this shit seems so confusing. Because, so you're telling me that the Romanovs are directly related to the Kaiser of Germany,
right?
King George IV
and
of England,
Queen Victoria,
and none of them helped them.
Yep.
And they end up getting murdered.
Yep.
To me, that seems a little weird.
You're only family if you're helping somebody else.
Yeah, they're doing what they want.
Yeah, if you can't do something for them, off with their heads. That's what they said. So, after the Romanovs left the throne, they were sent to Siberia. Their servants accompanied them and they moved into the former governor's house. Once the Bolsheviks took over Russia, the Romanovs moved to Yekaterinburg. Although the family were prisoners, they tried their best to live normally. Alex had fallen ill, and Alexei had already been suffering due to his hemophilia. At one point, Anastasia was tired of being confined inside, and so she opened a window to get fresh air, when all of a sudden, a sentry fired at her and barely missed her. I think a sentry is like...
Sentry gun's like...
Is that like bow and arrow?
No.
Here I am thinking it's like freaking Robin Hood shooting at her. Like, what'd you say?
You can go ahead and look it up so you have an idea. But it's like a turret. There you go.
Oh.
Yeah, like one of the big
ones. That's what Vulcan has on Smite.
Mm-hmm. Nerf Vulcan sentry gun. That's funny.
I know. That's why I saw that and I was like, oh my god. Makes so much sense now. It's crazy.
So it's a sentry gun is a weapon that is automatically aimed and fired at targets that are detected by sensors. So there you go. All right, so I'll go back to the story.
Yeah, she opened the window.
And it barely missed her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so at some point in time, the family had sewed jewels into their clothes in case they would later need money and have to start new brand lives.
Brand new lives. Sorry, I typed it wrong.
With different identities. It was a smart thing to do considering they were living their lives on the run from the Red Army. On July 17th, 1918, the Bolsheviks invaded the Romanovs' home and dragged them out of sleep and into their basement. The Bolsheviks went crazy and basically obliterated Nicholas and Alexandra with bullets. Once the Tsars had died, the soldiers turned to the children and stabbed them to death with bayonets. The whole massacre took about 20 minutes, and after being slaughtered, the bodies were stripped of their garments and the soldiers stole their valuables. The bodies were initially dumped at a nearby mine shaft, but since it did not hide the bodies, the killers decided to take the time to dismember the Romanovs' bodies, soak them in acid. This was followed by burying them in a separate unmarked graves. The bodies of Nicholas, Alexandra, and Olga, Tatiana, and Anastasia were later discovered in 1979. The bodies were then buried. I thought you said Anastasia wasn't covered.
Just wait, keep reading.
Okay, the bodies were then buried in the family crypt. However, in 2007, 2 more bodies were found and were claimed to be Alexei and Maria. But there is some discrepancy in the female body because some believe they found Anastasia's body, not Maria's. However, the Russian Orthodox Church challenged the identification of the 2 bodies and wanted to further investigate, which reopened the Romanov massacre case.
And it is still open currently.
Yeah, and from then in 2007, they actually reopened it again in 2015, which we'll get to, but I don't want to ruin it.
Yeah, once the Orthodox Church reopened the case, then 2 separate organizations started investigating it in 2015. Although I think one of them is also the Orthodox Church. But that's why, it's so hard to, prove which body is Anastasia's, which body is Maria's, because they were dismembered and soaked in acid.
Yeah,
the DNA evidence, at least, I guess, in my opinion, is pretty small,
ruined,
you know?
You have to get, you maybe from some bone marrow, I don't know.
But that's how much
depends.
I don't know how much bones.
Back then they definitely couldn't have, but
yeah, I don't know how much bones. I don't know if they find a bone. Can they test it and say oh, this was so and so. This was Billy Bob Thornton. This is my sweet girl, Stevie. Just my sweet Stevie. We love her. Say hi, Scarlett. Hello. Hello. She likes to sing Ice Ice Baby.
Too much water.
We're gonna put that in the video. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
You look so good.
You look so good. This one's a little more spiky. I don't know how to describe it. I would describe it as spiky. But it's so sweet. It's just spiky.
Tastes more carbonated.
Yeah.
But
that's my word for carbonated.
Spiky.
Spiky.
But yeah, that's the mainstream That's what, if you research this, that's the story you're gonna get right there.
That's the main rundown.
Yes.
On our next video, we plan on...
Do you want to do the next video? You should want to talk about it.
No, just give a little spiel. Just a little tidbit, a little sneak peek.
Okay. So, I mean, well, basically what we're going to get into is...
Did Anastasia survive?
Yes. Did Anastasia survive? Is it the body that... Is that her body that they discovered? Or is it somebody else's? And...
Who was Rasputin?
Well, yeah, Rasputin, and
how did he, I guess quotation marks, like, damn the Romanovs so bad that they couldn't come back from it?
Or did he? Everywhere you look, they'll tell you that he is the reason that the whole empire of the Romanovs collapsed. But I mean...
Which I believed at first. I've been learning about this since I was, 13? And so, I mean, a lot of podcasts and everything like that will paint him in a bad light. And I'm not saying he's a great person. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
after, our conversation from earlier, I definitely think his story needs to be told from, unbiased perspective.
I agree. And that's the thing. When you read a lot of things about this, it's very biased. It's people talking about him like they knew him personally, and I mean, nobody does. I mean, when you take a step back and you just look at what was going on, who was involved, stuff like that, it starts to paint a different picture. I'm not gonna say for sure it was this or that, because I mean, I would be wrong saying that. But to give you a little sneak peek.
This article I found was written in 2017 by the Moscow Times. All it says is groups in Russia are on edge this week after a prominent Russian bishop gave life to a conspiracy theory that Tsar Nicholas and his family were murdered in a ritual killing. The uproar came after a conference in Moscow today. Moscow. But you say Moscow, I think.
Okay.
I don't know. If not, I'm wrong. Moscow,
yeah.
You know what I mean. On Monday, summarizing the findings of two separate investigations into the execution of the Romanov family, one led by the Russian Orthodox Church, which we knew, and the other by Russia's investigative committee. So several theories were under consideration. A priest, widely rumored to be Vladimir Putin's spiritual advisor, said that a significant part of the church commission has no doubt that this was a ritual murder.
And I just want to point out this too, is, did you see what it said? President Vladimir Putin's spiritual advisor, which is damn near the same as Rasputin.
Because he was the Romanovs' advisor.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what he eventually became, was their advisor.
Mm-hmm.
The comment that the priest made hit a nerve
don't say the J word.
Groups who say the theory has
anti-Semitic roots. We're just gonna leave it at that.
All they said was that investigators would conduct a psychological historical examination of the claim that they were killed in a ritual killing. There were other J's in history who boasted about sacral historic mission and how his purpose was to ritually and symbolically end the 300-year Romanov dynasty. And that's all we're gonna say for now.
Our episodes following, we'll probably put this all in the playlist. There are a lot of things that nobody really talks about that will get your mind working.
So this was level 1, so next time you see us, we're going on to level 2.
Yes.
If you like our video, please like and subscribe.
Yes.
This is our fourth attempt to get a YouTube channel going, and we finally sticking to our guns and doing it. So we would greatly appreciate it.
Yes. And if you have any suggestions on topics or anything like that, everything has a surface story, all right? But everything has layers to it, and so that's my favorite thing, is just pulling back the layers. So if there's anything you want to know more about, then yeah, make sure we
will deep dive. We both love learning different random things. We know a whole lot, Or I guess we know a little about a lot, and so anytime we can take our little bit and grow it, we are
happy
down for that.
I guess we'll see y'all next time
On Doobs
and Goobs.
and Goobs.